Have you noticed that your morning firmness isn't what it used to be? Maybe you wake up tired, your body feels slower, and you've told yourself, well, I guess this is just aging. I want you to know something important. It's not always aging. I'm a board-certified urologist, and I've helped many men over 60 restore natural response without pills. But most men press the wrong place at the wrong time. Tell me where you're watching from and consider subscribing for more men's health guidance. But here's what most men never realize. The part of your body that controls morning firmness isn't only the part you see, it's the quiet foundation just above it. When men over 60 sit across from me and say, "Doctor, I just don't wake up the same way anymore," they almost always believe the problem is inside the penis itself. They assume it's permanent, they assume it's aging. But the first place I guide them to focus on is an area just above the base, over the pubic bone, because that's where the signal often weakens first. This area is called the pubic bone activation spot. It sits directly above the base of the penis, resting over the firm ridge of bone you can feel beneath the skin. Underneath that small surface area run key nerves and blood vessels that support erectile function. Think of this spot as a communication bridge. When that bridge is active and responsive, blood flow improves. When it becomes sluggish, morning firmness fades. As a urologist, I've examined thousands of men over the age of 60. What I consistently observe is not failure, but slowing. The lower pelvic circulation hasn't stopped working. It has simply become less responsive. Blood vessels naturally stiffen with time. The inner lining of those vessels, called the endothelium, becomes less flexible. Testosterone levels may dip gradually. Sleep becomes lighter and more interrupted. Stress hormones hang around longer than they should. None of that means your body is done. It means it needs clearer direction. Morning erections, what we clinically call nocturnal penile tumescence, are not about sexual desire. They are about nerve health and circulation. During REM sleep, your body enters a repair phase. Blood pressure drops slightly, muscles relax, blood vessels are supposed to widen. When the pelvic arteries expand properly, oxygen-rich blood flows into the erectile chambers. That natural surge is what creates morning firmness. But if nerve signals are weak or blood vessels are slightly stiff, that surge becomes smaller. This is where the pubic bone activation spot plays an important role. When you apply gentle, steady pressure to this area with 2 fingers for about 30 to 60 seconds, you stimulate superficial nerve endings that connect to deeper pelvic nerves. That stimulation sends a signal through the nervous system to the pelvic floor muscles and surrounding blood vessels. I often explain it to my patients like this. You're not forcing an erection. You're not trying to create instant results. You are reminding the system how to communicate. For men over 60, communication between nerves and blood vessels can become less efficient. Years of sitting, reduced physical activity, mild vascular changes, all of this contributes. Gentle stimulation wakes up that pathway. It increases local awareness. It improves neural feedback. But technique matters. The pressure should be firm but comfortable. I tell my patients to imagine pressing a doorbell, confident, steady pressure, not poking and not brushing lightly. Use slow circular motions. Keep breathing naturally. Your body should feel relaxed, not tense. Over time, consistent stimulation of the pubic bone activation spot may improve pelvic floor engagement and enhance oxygen-rich blood delivery to the corpora cavernosa, the spongy chambers responsible for firmness. Improved circulation at night increases the likelihood of stronger morning response. Now here's something even more important: timing. Many men try stimulation randomly during the day, but your body operates on rhythms. Testosterone rises during deep sleep. Blood vessel relaxation increases during REM cycles. If you stimulate this point in the evening, shortly before bed, You prime the nervous system right before it enters repair mode. That alignment matters. When nerve stimulation happens just before REM sleep, the signal carries forward into the night. It encourages a stronger vascular response during those natural cycles. But here's the mistake I see often. Men press once or twice and expect dramatic change. The body doesn't work that way. It responds to repetition and consistency. Think of it like retraining a muscle. You wouldn't expect strength after one exercise session. The same principle applies here. And there's another truth many men don't hear. Pressing this point alone may not be enough. The pubic bone activation spot improves communication and circulation, but firmness also depends on muscle support deeper in the pelvic floor. Without activating that second area, the signal remains incomplete. So if you've been blaming aging or assuming your body has permanently changed, I want you to pause. Slowing is not the same as stopping. Reduced response is not the same as loss. Your body still remembers how to function. It may simply need clearer signals, better timing, and consistent reinforcement. And once you understand the second point that completes this circuit, everything begins to make more sense. Now here's the mistake most seniors make. They focus only on blood flow, but they ignore the muscles that are supposed to hold that blood in place. You can have decent circulation, you can even stimulate the first point correctly, but if the support system underneath is weak, firmness won't last. This second area is rarely discussed, yet in my clinical experience, it's often the missing piece for men over 60. This second point is called the perineal support point. It sits in the soft tissue between the scrotum and the anus, an area many men never think about unless there's discomfort. But beneath that small patch of skin lie two very important muscles, the bulbospongiosus and the ischiocavernosus. These muscles play a central role in erection strength and maintenance. Their job is simple but powerful. They help trap blood inside the penis once it flows in. Let me explain why that matters. An erection is not just about getting blood in, it's about keeping blood in. When blood enters the erectile chambers, these pelvic floor muscles contract gently to compress the veins that would otherwise let blood escape. That compression is what creates rigidity. Without strong muscle support, blood leaks out too quickly. The result? Softer erections or difficulty maintaining firmness. As men age, these muscles can weaken. Just like your arms or legs lose strength without regular use, the pelvic floor can lose tone over time. Long hours of sitting, less physical activity, and simple aging all contribute. The change is gradual, so most men don't notice it happening. They only notice the effect: reduced firmness, shorter duration, weaker morning response. The perineal support point gives you a way to reconnect with that hidden muscle system. When you apply gentle upward pressure to this area, not painful, just steady and supportive, you stimulate underlying muscle fibers and branches of the pudendal nerve. The pudendal nerve is the main communication line between your brain and your pelvic floor. It carries the signals that control erection rigidity. If that nerve signal becomes weak or delayed, muscle contraction becomes weaker. And when contraction weakens, blood trapping weakens. Here's the biology in simple terms. By applying light pressure to the perineal support point for about 30 seconds while gently contracting your pelvic floor, as if you are trying to stop urine flow, you activate what we call the neuromuscular loop. That loop is the feedback system between your brain and your muscles. The more clearly your brain senses the muscle, the stronger and more coordinated the contraction becomes. In plain language, you remind the muscles how to work. Many men over 60 assume testosterone is the only factor, and yes, testosterone plays a role, but I've seen many patients with normal testosterone levels who still struggle with firmness. When we assess further, the issue isn't hormone level, it's muscle engagement and vascular responsiveness. The perineal support point improves proprioception, which is your brain's awareness of a muscle. When awareness improves, control improves. When control improves, contraction strength increases. And when contraction strength increases, blood trapping improves. And blood trapping is what creates reliable firmness. Now here's something important. Do this lying down before sleep. Keep your body relaxed. Breathe slowly through your nose. Place 2 fingers gently on the perineal support point and apply light upward pressure. At the same time, contract your pelvic floor for 5 seconds, then relax for 5 seconds. Repeat this 5 times. You are not forcing an erection. You are not testing performance. You are retraining a support system. Consistency matters more than intensity. Gentle repetition builds coordination. Within a few weeks, many men notice improved awareness, stronger contractions, and gradually better morning response. But here's where most men get it wrong. They try it once, maybe twice. When they don't wake up dramatically different the next morning, they assume it doesn't work. The body doesn't respond to impatience, it responds to steady signals. And there's another reality I always share with my patients. Even perfect muscle activation will struggle if blood vessels are stiff or inflamed. You can stimulate nerves and strengthen muscles, but if circulation is blocked by daily habits that damage the inner lining of your arteries, results will stay limited. So before you assume your body can't respond, we need to look at the silent circulation blocker that affects millions of men over 60 every single day. But here's what most men don't realize. You can press both points perfectly, you can stimulate the nerves, you can even strengthen the pelvic floor. But if blood cannot move freely through your vessels, morning firmness will still struggle. And this is where the conversation becomes deeper than technique. Because now we're talking about the health of your arteries themselves. The issue is something called endothelial dysfunction. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. The endothelium is the thin inner lining of your blood vessels. Think of it as the smooth surface inside a pipe. When it's healthy, it allows the vessel to expand and relax easily. When it becomes stiff or inflamed, the vessel loses flexibility. And flexibility is everything when it comes to erections. Here's why that matters. For blood to fill the erectile chambers at night, the arteries must widen. That widening depends on a chemical called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the signal that tells blood vessels to relax and open. Without enough nitric oxide, the vessels stay narrow. Blood flow becomes restricted and erections weaken. Now, nitric oxide production happens inside the endothelium. So if the endothelial lining becomes damaged, nitric oxide levels drop. And when nitric oxide drops, response drops. This is not just about intimacy. This is vascular health. In fact, in many men over 60, reduced morning erections are one of the earliest warning signs of vascular decline, sometimes years before heart symptoms appear. The arteries in the penis are smaller than the arteries in the heart, so when circulation begins to weaken, the penis often shows signs first. That's why I tell my patients something they never forget. Your penis is a barometer of vascular health. It reflects what's happening inside your arteries. So what damages the endothelium? In my years of practice, I see 3 major patterns in men over 60. The first is poor sleep. When sleep becomes shallow or fragmented, testosterone production dips. But it's not just testosterone. During deep sleep, the body releases repair chemicals that protect the blood vessels. Without consistent deep sleep, the endothelium doesn't repair itself properly. Night after night of light sleep quietly reduces nitric oxide availability. The second factor is high blood sugar. Even mildly elevated blood sugar stiffens blood vessels over time. Excess glucose damages the inner lining, creating inflammation. That inflammation interferes with nitric oxide production. Many men don't realize their blood sugar runs high because symptoms can be subtle. But the vascular impact builds slowly. The third factor is chronic stress. When stress hormones remain elevated, especially cortisol and adrenaline, blood flow gets redirected. Your body prioritizes survival systems over repair systems. Blood vessels constrict more often. Over time, this constant state of tension reduces vascular flexibility. Now think about what that means. If you press the pubic bone activation spot and stimulate the perineal support point, you are sending strong local signals. But if the arteries feeding the area are stiff, the response will still be limited. This is why stimulation must be combined with vascular support. Improved sleep habits are one of the most powerful tools you have. Going to bed at the same time each night helps regulate testosterone rhythm. Avoiding heavy late meals reduces nighttime blood sugar spikes. Limiting alcohol before sleep protects REM cycles, which are essential for nocturnal erections. When sleep improves, nitric oxide production improves. When nitric oxide improves, vessels widen more easily. Now here's the overlooked detail that most men miss entirely. Timing matters more than intensity. Many men press these points randomly during the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, whenever they remember. But erections that happen during REM sleep are part of a hormonal rhythm. Testosterone rises during the night. Blood vessel relaxation peaks during specific sleep cycles. If you stimulate the nerve points right before bed, you align mechanical stimulation with your natural hormonal surge. You're preparing the nervous system just before it enters repair mode. That alignment increases the likelihood of stronger nocturnal blood flow. And I've seen it time and time again. Men who change nothing about pressure strength but shift timing to right before sleep often report better results. It's not about force, it's about physiology. But even if your circulation improves and your timing is perfect, there's still one more factor quietly influencing your results, something most doctors rarely explain clearly, yet it plays a central role in how your body responds overnight. But here's what most men misunderstand about testosterone. It's not just about how much you have, it's about when your body releases it. I've had countless men sit in my office and say, "Doctor, my testosterone must be low." Sometimes it is slightly lower than it was at 30. But what I often see in men over 60 isn't just a lower number, it's a disrupted rhythm. And rhythm is what drives morning firmness. The key concept here is testosterone rhythm. Testosterone is not static, it moves in waves. In healthy patterns, it rises during deep sleep and peaks in the early morning hours. That early morning rise is one of the main reasons men wake up with natural firmness. It's not random, it's biological timing. When you were younger, your sleep was deeper and more predictable. Your hormone pulses were stronger. The overnight surge of testosterone worked together with nitric oxide release and pelvic nerve activation. It was a synchronized system. But as men age, that rhythm often becomes irregular. Men over 60 may have moderately lower total testosterone levels. That's true, but what matters even more is that the nighttime pulse becomes blunted. Instead of a strong rise during deep sleep, levels stay flatter. And when the rise is weaker, morning firmness weakens. Now let's talk about why that rhythm becomes disrupted. Late night television keeps the brain stimulated when it should be winding down. Alcohol before bed interferes with REM sleep cycles. Blue light from phones and tablets suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals your body to prepare for deep sleep. Irregular sleep times confuse the internal clock that regulates hormone release. All of these habits flatten the nighttime testosterone wave. Morning erections depend on that overnight hormonal rise. They depend on deep REM cycles. They depend on synchronized signals between the brain, nerves, blood vessels, and pelvic floor muscles. When you stimulate the pubic bone activation spot and the perineal support point before bed, you are encouraging blood flow and nerve responsiveness. That's powerful. But if testosterone rhythm remains flat, the system still lacks one of its key drivers. This is why I tell my patients that small evening habits matter more than they think. A consistent sleep schedule helps anchor your circadian rhythm. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time trains your brain to release hormones predictably. Even a difference of an hour or two each night can weaken that pattern over time. Morning sunlight exposure is another simple but powerful tool. When sunlight hits your eyes early in the day, it resets your internal clock. That reset strengthens the nighttime release of melatonin and supports deeper sleep later on. Light evening meals also play a role. Heavy, late meals force your body to focus on digestion when it should be transitioning into repair mode. Elevated blood sugar late at night can blunt hormone pulses and disrupt REM sleep. Limiting alcohol before bed is crucial. Even 1 or 2 drinks may make you feel relaxed, but alcohol fragments sleep cycles. It reduces REM sleep, the stage most closely tied to nocturnal erections and testosterone peaks. When these adjustments are made consistently, REM cycles deepen. When REM deepens, nocturnal penile tumescence, those natural nighttime erections, becomes more likely. And with stronger nighttime erections, morning firmness often follows. And this brings us back to the belief many men quietly carry: this is just aging. Aging changes systems. It does not shut them down. Yes, hormone levels may shift. Yes, recovery may take longer, but the body still responds to rhythm, to timing, to consistent signals. The nervous system still communicates. Blood vessels still widen when supported. Muscles still strengthen when engaged. Hormones still pulse when sleep is protected. The mistake is assuming decline is permanent instead of adjustable. When you combine targeted stimulation of the pubic bone activation spot, activation of the perineal support point, support for endothelial health, and restoration of testosterone rhythm, you are not fighting your age. You are working with your biology. But here's the key: this only works if you apply it consistently, not once, not occasionally, not when you remember. The body trusts patterns. It adapts to repetition. It strengthens what you practice. And when you give your system the right signals at the right time, something remarkable often happens. Your body begins to remember what it already knows how to do. Let's return to the moment I asked about your morning firmness, that quiet realization that things aren't quite like they used to be. Many men immediately blame aging, assuming the change is permanent. But here's what I've seen in thousands of men over 60. The body rarely stops responding. It's not broken. It simply needs clearer, consistent signals. The pubic bone activation spot, the perineal support point, timing these stimulations before sleep, honoring your body's natural testosterone rhythm. These are not extreme interventions. They are small, precise adjustments that retrain your system. When circulation improves, when pelvic muscles reconnect, when sleep deepens, the body often remembers how to function the way it once did. Morning firmness is more than a physical response. It reflects vascular health, nerve integrity, and overall masculine vitality. It's a signal that your body is listening, even if it has been quiet for a while. You are not broken. You are simply adjusting. An adjustment is one of the body's most remarkable abilities. At any age, at any stage, with patience, consistency, and gentle attention, your system can respond, restore, and remind you of the strength that's always been there. If this video gave you a new perspective on your body, consider subscribing, not for hype, but for calm, honest guidance for men over 50 who want energy, strength, and confidence in this stage of life. Leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. I read everyone, and you're not alone in this journey. In our next discussion, I'll reveal one simple nighttime habit that quietly suppresses testosterone and how to adjust it gently. Until then, treat your body with care. It's still listening and it still responds.